So finally it's time to paint, and that's when I use the silvery hammerite hammer finished paint as I used on the heat exchanger. So it's just to get the lid off and start working. So I've rigged up a kind of a table-ish thing to keep the paint canister on. So I'm going to put the camera on a time lapse, and yeah, you can enjoy and I will suffer. I've managed to paint most of the engine once. However, I need to paint a little bit of the underside of the engine as well. And while all the paint on the sides of the engine were fresh, I could not bend over the engine and get access to the points underneath. And it's still hard, so yeah. I have to do some adjustments to the space around it, I guess. So then it's off. I'm going to keep the hardware that's used in here later on, so I'm going to take that off, but the tubing is gonna, yeah, I'm not going to keep that. So yeah, and it's more of this stuff, but right now it's just to get access to the engine. So as you can see, this is the area I need to get access to, and where I want to paint is down underneath here. So that's a bit of a challenge, but we will see what we can do. Well, this is a better view of the area. So I'm going to come in with a paintbrush like this, try to get access to all of this area on this side. Whoops, all the way around here up to this point. From here on it is painted, so I need to access this area. I have to switch to the other side, I guess, and we will see how that goes. So finally I have managed to put 2 coats of paint on the engine, and yeah, doesn't really look like it's just come out of the factory, but it's not gonna rust anymore. There's one small area I haven't painted on the cylinder head because I have to remove one of the injectors to replace the copper washers or seals that is between the pre-chamber and there is a lot of stuff in the way, so I figured I would do this small area when I've removed the injector. So that's coming up in a while. First I'm going to assemble the engine back together, so alternator, starter motor, heat exchanger, all the hoses and so on. Wiring, everything is hooked up, and then I'm going to start the engine and run it for a bit so I know that everything runs fine and it's okay. And after that I'm gonna pull the injector out and replace these tiny washers. That's a few of in the pre-chamber assembly. So yeah, but now I'm gonna give you a small glimpse of what the engine looks like. So this is where the heat exchanger goes on. This is the exhaust ports. So I have to clean up these. I've gotten some paint on this surface that the gasket is supposed to seal against. So I'm going to put the gasket on. I'm going to mark out where it sits, and I'm going to clean off the paint that's on the surface where the gasket is supposed to sit. This is the side of the cylinder block. Here is where the diesel pump is mounted on the aluminium housing, so that's not painted. I will paint the diesel pump later on. And I have to attend to this pipe somehow. They say that this one is not available anymore, but I will see. Perhaps I can reuse it. It is in fairly okay condition, except over here at the diesel pump, but we will see what we find. The flywheel housing was really badly corroded because of the leakage from the exhaust elbow, so that is treated and painted. The aft end of the engine is painted. Even got paint into this small groove underneath here. It's a mess trying to clean it out. And this is where the starter motor is supposed to sit. The cylinder block is painted. Where the engine brackets or engine mount brackets are mounted. This area is, I've not painted behind it, because when I put the boat up on the hard, as you say, I am perhaps going to lift the engine because the sail drive is coming off, so I might move the engine around a bit, lift it, suspend it over the cockpit, I guess, and then I'm going to paint underneath the engine brackets and paint the engine brackets, and perhaps I'll even slap some paint on the underside of the oil pan, because that's not painted either, because I couldn't get to it. So yeah, also I've managed to get paint all around the flywheel housing, so because there was a lot of corrosion on it, so that's all good. Front of the engine is also painted, and also down underneath here. So it's all been, yeah, and this is the injector where there is a small compression leak. It comes up through a small hole. I don't know if you can see it. I'll try and point to it. There is a small hole about there, and that is where the exhaust gas come up. There was supposed to be a hole there, so yeah, that is an indication of that the pressure seals is worn out a bit. So I've ordered new ones. I have them here at the boat, so when I run the engine for a bit, that is going to be fixed. As you can see, next injector, there is a hole in the same place here as well, and also on the injector in the front of the engine. So yeah, the intake manifold is not painted because that's aluminium, and I haven't bothered to take it off to remove the Yanmar paint either. You can sit there, it doesn't matter, it won't corrode any. If that should turn out to be much of an issue, I will attend to it. And also the valve cover is left with a Yanmar paint for now. It is aluminium, so I will most likely rub off this paint because it starts to flake off here. So I'm gonna adjust the valves on it, the clearance on the valves, and when I have the cover of the engine, I guess I will just remove the paint as well. So, and that's why I haven't bothered being careful when I was painting the engine. I just slapped the paint onto this cover, because when I remove it and put it back, I want all the surface that is cast iron to be covered in paint. So I figured this was the easiest way. Yeah, so far so good.